Hey guys, welcome back to the retro section of Glow Talk Comics, where we're sitting at the dining room table that's not a dining room. But I wanted to do a couple of videos, and here over the next few days, my wife is getting some rest, during the same time in the afternoon. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys still got the content that you needed without me waking her up and bothering her. So today we're going to talk about Stephen Butler's first issue of Web of Spider-Man. I erroneously, when I talked about Web 118 the other day, talked about 118 being Stephen's first issue, but it was actually this issue, 117. And it was written by Terry Cavanagh, and Kevin Tinsley colored it. Steve Dutro was the letterer, Eric Fine was the editor, Danny Fingeroth was the group editor, and Stephen Butler penciler, and Randy Emberlin inker. So the artwork somewhat resembles on some pages Mark Bagley's artwork, because Randy had been a long time inker on Mark's stuff on Amazing Spider-Man, so they wanted some kind of continuity. And here you get to see, for example, hopefully you can see it well enough, those are Bagley Spider-Man legs. So, and before we get too deep into this, it says a fabulous flip book. We're only going to be talking about the main story, and we're not going to talk about the double, which is the other story on the other side of the book. That was written, let's see, who did this one? This one was written by J.M. DeMatteis with Liam Sharp as the penciler, but we're not going to talk about that. We're just here for the real good clone stuff. So, Web was the fourth book in the four-running series of Spider-Man books. It was always kind of the, I guess, the lesser looked upon story series, because even though you had Alex Saviuk on the title as artist from issue 35 all the way through 116, it had multiple writers. The first 33 or 34 issues all had different pencilers and inkers. It was almost like Marvel Team Up again, except this was just a Spidey story, and you had moving continuity, but you always had different artists and writers. And even once Alex Saviuk came on as penciler, eventually you had different inkers on him as well that would kind of make the artwork look a little bit different. And then you had a rotating cast of writers on Web. So it was kind of the redheaded stepchild of the monthly series. And I hated to see it go because it barely made it over 10 years. But you get to see the very first appearance of Peter Parker's clone. Let's see, that was and, well, in the modern day, we'll say, it's just somebody who Spider-Man keeps calling Peter, okay, or Parker. And he says, hey, wall crawling is my shtick, Parker, and this spider is notoriously territorial. So he's angry, he's pissed off, and eventually this guy gets a hold of him. He says, you may not believe what I say, Spider-Man, but you can't deny what you see. And he says, I'm your clone. And he's like, wait, the Jackal's pawn? And he's like, that was a long time ago, bro, and it looks like we both made some changes since then. But by the time you wake up, I'll be long gone again. Well, the other character that I'm not familiar with until this point is Judas Traveler. And Judas Traveler was kind of like a dime store, or maybe even a five and dime version of Doctor Strange, that, as far as I know, his main appearance was in this storyline, which is called Power and Responsibility, and it ran through all four of the Spider titles at the time. But you get Judas Traveler showing up to talk to Ashley Kafka at Ravencroft, and he says that he's there to help out. He's there to try to figure out how to keep the inmates in the asylum, as it were. and instead he's got something much bigger planned. And but he sees Scream, he sees Carnage, and he sees the Chameleon to begin with. And so he's going through all of these Spider-Man villains, and he says the insanity of Cassidy, the power of an alien, and together they forge an evil so pure it can be tasted. And he too owes his downfall to Spider-Man. So now the truth comes out, and all of the characters that were working with Traveler start doing what they're really supposed to do. Mr. Noct is kind of a hacker, so he's going to take operational control of Ravencroft. And then you have, who else do you have? Chakra, and Chakra apparently is able to project an astral form, and she goes out and calls out to Spider-Man and says, Dr. Judas Traveler has a challenge for you. He has taken control of Ravencroft, and he'll kill all its inmates unless you stop him. Of course, if you defeat him, the inmates will go free to menace the world. And so Spidey says it's a no-win situation, but I've got no choice but to face it. And he does think about it, though. He says, why did this clone, this self-described clone, care so much about May? Because that's what the clone was trying to tell Peter. He said, I'm just trying to go see May, and then I'll be gone, and you'll never see me again. So Spidey ends the book by showing up at Ravencroft, and Judas Traveler says, I did this all for you, and I intend to put every single one of these tortured souls out of their misery unless you stop me. However, if you do, and they do, survive my gauntlet, the powerful wretches will then be released into the world at large. So it leaves Peter with a moral dilemma, and we will pick back up with issue number 394 of Amazing Spider-Man, which is part 2 of Power and Responsibility. So I'll dig that issue out and read it over the next couple of days, and we'll tackle this one issue at a time over the next couple of weeks. How's that sound, guys? By the way, what did you think? I know this is further back than what you're used to seeing, but what did you think about the artwork that Stephen Butler turned in with Randy Emberlin embellishing? I thought it was very great. I thought it was exceptionally well for somebody who, at that time, Stephen had been penciling for a while, but to get called up to the big leagues and do Web of Spider-Man, how awesome is that? Now, the only thing that sucks is this book would be gone in 12 issues. So he got to work on the last year of it. So it might have been better if Alex Saviuk was still capable to do it. The completionist inside me says they should have just let Alex go ahead and pencil it for the next, 12 issues and then let the title be gone. But hey, I'm extremely happy that Stephen got the nod. He's a super nice guy, met him a few times at a few cons, and he's just top notch. So I'm glad that he got the opportunity to draw Spidey, short-lived though, as it were. So anyway, guys, did you read this back in the day? Were you Spider-Man fans back in the 90s? Were you even born in the 90s? Let me know down in the comments. Hit like and subscribe on this channel on the bottom of this video to see more stuff just like this coming from this channel. Alright guys, this has been my retro comic review in the retro setting. I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.